What is up, peeps? Good morning and happy Sunday to everybody. It is chilly in Pennsylvania, but it's November, so that's to be expected here. We'll take it. It's football weather. He'll still have some 80s coming up next week, and it was 80 on Halloween, and we weren't crazy busy at work for some reason. So take the victories we can get. Steelers are off this week, but I plan to watch NFL as I do on Sunday and hang out and eat some meatloaf and mashed potatoes today for dinner. So I've been busy the last few days. Got a lot of stuff going on. We had a big wedding to go to and union stuff and different things like that. But I've been following Delphi as much as possible. Both sides thus far. I'm not in the courtroom, and again, I'll say it every time. That sucks that we can't be there and we can't view it. Both sides have left some to be desired for me. The prosecution has wrapped their case. The defense hasn't, so I'll wait to pass judgment on them. But thus far, the defense has just been a popcorn fart. The prosecution left a lot to be desired too. And the big thing is the rebuttal from both sides have left a lot to be desired. But the jury's very attentive. The jury's asking very good questions. Some of the same questions that I ask, they've been asking. So let's get to it. One of the biggest things with those confessions is the mother's confession. And show it to you here on the screen. I can't find a case that I've researched or know about where someone has given a confession like this to his mother. Those of you that follow criminal psychology know with males, it's almost always about the mom. In this situation, I don't see Richard Allen being abused by his mother or anything like that. I've said before, he's not Gary Ridgway. Things like this didn't happen to him. So something happened. He said he was molested by a babysitter early on. And I would suspect that that's a female, not a male. But I don't know that for sure. He makes these confessions, talked about his daughter, doing things to his daughter, and disturbing to say the least. And if it isn't true, there's some things there that'll stay with him forever. So I don't know. Medications, I'm not expert in. So I won't even comment on that, but those were some very, to me, damning confessions. But again, the way everyone looks at this case, most people's minds are made up already. And this is going to be this, is going to be that. And I could be guilty of that too, saying that I believe he's guilty. But I'll tell you why, okay? And I'm not on a jury, and I'm not a trial lawyer. And ultimately, what any of us have to say here on YouTube was not really going to affect this case. After the adjudication of Richard Allen, there could be some other things that come out of this. But what we're saying right here is kind of fodder for us to talk about things, okay? There was a recent cop killer in Indiana that received some of the same treatment Allen is treated with, put in a prison, not a jail. And again, if you want to change that, you have to get to the legislators in the state of Indiana and say that. Pat Brown, been listening to her for a long time. The profiler, not the prominent Delphi resident, I think she's great. She's dunked on a few people lately, and she tells it how it is. And she follows Lawyer Lee, who I think has a good show. Some people say she's jaded toward the defense. Guess what? All these defense attorneys, they're going to always side to the defense, right? If I'm in a forum talking about football and we're bringing up the Steelers, I'm biased. I'm going to talk about, they're good, they're this, they're that, or whatever. But if you find a defense attorney on YouTube that starts saying people are guilty, they're not going to be defense attorneys for very much longer. So you got to understand that. We all have bias. We all bring bias into it. But when she said people, there's no evidence, there's no evidence, they should throw it out. Well, if there was no evidence, the defense would have arrested and wouldn't even have presented a case, like some people suggested. But they, in doing right, they are going to present their case because there is a burden there that I think that if they don't come up, it's met, depending on what the jury feels now. But again, it's not frivolous. Like Lawyer Lee said, it's not frivolous. There's plenty there. It's circumstantial. No DNA. Well, less than 10% of cases, killers leave DNA, especially outside, which is a low number. I thought it was going to be higher than that, but that's what it is. So in a crime like this, when there's so much hand-to-hand stuff going on, you would expect things to come off. Did he wear gloves? I think whoever did this probably had to have worn gloves as a forensic countermeasure. Something happened that he was able to cover up and keep his fluids from getting on things, or did he do things after, whatever. We may never actually know that, unfortunately. With the timeline and the witnesses, I know the witnesses are a couple minutes off, and again, we know eyewitnesses, whether you're pro or pro defense or pro prosecution, aren't always the best. Most people that are imprisoned illegally are because of false witnesses or witnesses messing things up. Not that they're trying to pin it on someone, but they just, make mistakes, as we all do. You're not paying attention to everyone that walks past. A lot of people are into their phones or into other things. But that timeline with multiple witnesses, the Betsy Blair leaving and coming back, Richard Allen not seeing Bridge Guy, either there's a guy dressed just like him out there who he missed by a matter of moments or seconds and put himself there and did all these things. You would have to have almost a clone of Richard Allen to look like it. I know people say Brad Weber and this and that. These guys are over 6 foot tall. The guy on the bridge is not 6'3". Brad Weber might have his own proclivities or weirdnesses. Absolutely. Should have been looked at early on because he lives there. His van, he tells the cops one time, now he tells them another time. They're going to pick at him, and I don't blame him. Baldwin's going to try to get him to attack him on the stand. And Brad Weber might. He might jump out of that box. So I don't blame the defense for that, but I'd like to hear what else he has to say. They did take his gun. They took many. And again, people, the bullet was there for 2 weeks. No, it wasn't. It was taken that day. Many other things have sort of been debunked on both sides, right? The police department fucked up early on, and there's no question about it. One of my guys, John Douglas, will tell you about that. I'm going to clip a little thing in here at this point for that.
Yeah, and they sound authoritarian. Man, I mean, and they sat on that. God, wasn't it like 2 years or so? It was ridiculous. You don't sit on something like like that. For that period of time. That case to me, that was a solvable kind of case. That there's this knowledge of the area. That's his comfort zone. That area there, whatever that area is like, I just don't know. I know it was just rural. I don't know. We don't know how they were killed. If you knew how they were killed, even like I said, you can sit on it for a while, but I think it would have been very solvable. If I would have known, like, were they sexually assaulted? Yes or no? Were they both sexually assaulted? Were they redressed? Were they unclothed? Did he pose the bodies? Did he try to secrete the bodies, hide the bodies from open view? Are they missing anything, any jewelry, any clothing, or anything like that? Method of death. Can we determine who was killed first? It's really a solvable case, but not a year later, 2 years, 2 years later. I mean, unless they luck out and get DNA. But it upsets me sometimes when I see, why didn't they release this information?
These things should have been out. However that tip got lost, I don't know. But Richard Allen, if he is the killer, had plenty of time to get rid of all these things. Burn clothes, do whatever he had to do to it. Where if they catch someone in the first couple of days, they'll have that 2017 phone, won't they? But they didn't do it. So I don't know what happened there. The white van. So Rossi says that Richard Allen had received that discovery at that point that he made the confessions. We don't know that for sure. However, if you look at all the filings that the defense is whining and crying, we didn't get this yet, we didn't get that yet. Who knows what defense they got when he made those confessions? Can they even really say? Rossi said that in court and wasn't challenged. If I was, McClellan, I would have said, well, wait a minute. Show me what you sent him and when. Because they cried the blues. We didn't get our defense. We didn't get our discovery. We didn't get this, and that. So who knows what he got? When they say he received discovery, he didn't receive everything all at once. Multiple terabytes of information. So who knows what he got, when he got it. But Rossi says that he had that, and McClellan didn't say anything to that. As far as the odiness, no nexus, no witnesses. That's the law in Indiana. You could like it, you could not like it, you could want to change it. But their own witnesses, Murphy and Click said they could not tie any of the odinous suspects to the crime or the crime scene or Delphi that day. It's over. You might want to say, hey, that's not right. Again, you need to go to the Indiana legislators with that and say, we want to change this law. We want you to be able to argue to some other guy did it defense without a nexus. the defense has been calling a lot of law enforcement officers, including Doug Carter, and it's trying to make the prosecution look bad. Why didn't you call this guy? Why didn't you call this guy? Well, they weren't pertinent to the case. Doug Carter's a figurehead, a department head, blah, blah, blah. But they want to get him to say something, right? They had that little sidebar. Be very interested to know what went on in that sidebar. We never will. But it looks bad. You're asking him a bunch of questions, and then, hey, come here, let's talk. Boom, then he's out of there. It looks bad. That needs to be explained to the public. So people that are saying, defense people, hey, this is weird. I get it. It's strange. Kelsey's hair, I mean, who's shocked by that? I'm not going to do this because it's not going to work for me. But if you have long hair or any hair, go look inside any of your sweatshirts or any of your coats. You're going to find hairs. You're going to find a lot of hairs down near the cuff, because as you put them on, things continuously get pushed down. But the people who are running amok with Kelsey did it. Kelsey, again, they're telling you about themselves. They're not telling you about Kelsey Seibert, Kelsey German. They're telling you about themselves. And that's one hair. She didn't pull anyone's hairs out. That's one hair. There's not a clump of hair. There's none of that. I know I was telling people on Discord the other day, we were talking, my kids, multiple sweatshirts. You have regular teams, school teams, club teams. They would get, for basketball and baseball, they would get 2 or 3 a year. And getting ready to move here, going through some of their old stuff, and I have like 20 of them. Absolutely, 20 of these sweatshirts that are like, oh, that wasn't this. She wasn't on the swim team. We looked this and that up. You're going down the wrong hole with that. And we've all been down this. I vetted that family out too. I thought early on, oh, this is bizarre, but there's all sizzle and no steak. There's no steak there. And I think if the defense pivots and starts to accuse the family, they're going to lose the jury. That's my personal opinion. They're going to lose them, because that jury's seen that family in that courtroom every day, struggling and weeping and just having the worst time. And now you're going to blame them with no evidence. I repeat, none. All these people, oh, they did it. There's 50 people under the bridge. They're doing it. None of it. Now, maybe it'll come out. Maybe the defense will try to bring it out, but they haven't yet. And it just seems that their best bet, in my opinion, is to keep chipping away at the police work. That's what I would do. Richard Allen had a couple beers in him. I thought that for a long time. Most people that commit acts like this are under the influence of some kind of drug. And a lot of serial killers are alcoholics. I wonder if you knew that or not. Abby's blood, a lot of questions. Where is it at? Libby's blood's on the ground. Abby's blood's on her sweatshirt. There's plenty of blood on her sweatshirt. So if anyone tells you that, they're misinformed. And she had a slower bleed. A bad one, but a slower bleed than Libby, as they told us. She lived a little bit longer. So that could have very easily seeped out onto there. But again, without seeing the hundreds, maybe thousands of crime scene photos, which I don't want to see or need to see. I mean, there's people that share them on YouTube. And that's just, it says a lot about them, but not about this. So I wonder what your thoughts are. I'm starting to shiver here because it is cold outside. So sorry if this phone's moving a little bit. Even my coffee's cold. But just to catch you up on what's happened this last week and my take on everything, I'll be back Tuesday for a members only. I'm probably going to do a live after that. Also, see if I can get some people on. I know Frank's going to be up there. Frosty might be up there. Tom Webster's been great. Hidden True Crime has been great. People are starting to turn on her. She keeps it down the middle. But anytime someone, hey, I think it sounds like he might be guilty, you have a lot of defense people come out of the woodwork and they'll attack people. And that happens on the prosecution side too. I don't see it as much, but it does happen. So at the end of the day, we're not in there. We're relying on these people, and we should be kind to them about what they're doing to get us this information, or else we wouldn't have it. And we wouldn't really know what's going on until after the hearing, and then after the trial, and then you get the court record and the transcript and all that. And if Richard Allen's adjudicated guilty, I'm sure it'll be an appeal. It'll be different attorneys, I think, as it has to be, if I'm not mistaken about that. But there'll be some kind of appeal. So people will cling to this case for a long time, right or for wrong. But after the adjudication of guilt, I'll focus all my time pretty much on Flora. I'll cover some old stuff. Certainly cover the Kimmy Krim case here in McKeesport. But, life goes on for everybody after this, after the adjudication. If he's adjudicated innocent, that's it. You can't put him on trial again. And I do believe he's the guy. I don't think they'll ever arrest anyone else. I really don't. But the police left a lot to be desired here. We never got to scoop why the FBI was kicked out. They were kicked out in August of 2021, according to Carter, which I find very interesting. I thought it was a lot earlier that happened, but it did not. But those are things that the people should know. Explain to us what happened here. Why did they want to go one route and we went another? What happened? You know, I can't imagine it was like funding cuts or anything, the FBI, but who knows? Anyways, I'm going to leave you to it. I'm going to go back in and warm up, get ready for some football with my dog mug. My coffee's already cold. I've only been out here for 13 minutes, but we will say tentacles, and who knows how far they're extending. And leave you to it. I hope you have a good Sunday and a good week. Look for me Tuesday. Look for a thumbnail sometime probably tomorrow, but I'll do my members only. And I'm going to probably do a Delphi live after that and see what the latest updates are and what everybody's thinking about it. So what do you think? If you like my video, like, share, subscribe it. If you think I'm full of shit, tell me in the comments. Keep it real. And we can always go back and forth with no problem. All right, I'm freezing. Coach.